Hello everybody and welcome back to the 4Cs podcast, and it is 2026. I did actually mean to look at the date that this is going out on, as I am trying to preempt it, is the 5th. So I will currently be on my way back from Scotland. I am spending New Year's in the Highlands, and basically Anthony's going to bring his bike, I'm going to bring my runners, and I am going to do the New Year's Day park run in Fort William. And it's along Ben Nevis, it's in a trail, like just a bit of crack. And what I think it's the best way to start the year for me. It kind of starts the year with the intentions of how I wanted to continue and how I wanted to go on. And yeah, it's just, I'm sure it'll be amazing. Can't inform you of that just now because I'm pre-recording this. But either way, 2026 has landed. I saw something today that it is the year of the horse. So I actually got off a group call with my mentor this morning about how 2025 was the year of the snake. And I mean, it was the year of the snake. So I kind of brought something up to kind of read out. So basically, it is an intermittent bursts of change. Think the snake shedding its old skin, a yearning to transform our internal world, shedding old beliefs, patterns and habits, mental, logical, intuitive, visually inspired. Change requires inspiration and logic. So that was 2025. And then 2026 is all about like transformation, external world, movement. And it just means that like more consistent momentum is going to be built. Think horsepower in car terminology, transforming our external world, travel, moving house, living in different places, changing jobs to align with the heart purpose, putting what is truly important to you first and being true to your heart. So it is going to be faster than 2025 in terms of life and momentum. But yeah, I thought that was a really interesting insight to 2026. I mean, that's if you believe in all that and if you are interested in the year of the animal and what animal it does and what it is representing. Like for me, 100% 2025 was 100% the hardest year. Personally, it was one of the toughest years I've been through in a long time. But 2026, we're not bringing that momentum with us. We are shutting the door on that and we're bringing lots of new momentum and positive change to 2026. So look, by the time you get to this episode, I want you to feel something different about like from how most end of year conversations leave you feeling. I don't want you to feel like wired or pressured or convinced that January is your one chance to get every single thing right, I should say, but it's not. I want you grounded. I need you grounded. I want you reflective. And most importantly, I want you to connect with who you are and who you want to be, not with that inspiration of who you think you should be. Because if the last 4 episodes have done their job, if you haven't listened to the last 4 episodes, go back. We've talked about identity, self-trust, keeping promises to yourself, 2025 reflections, and now into episode 5 of 2026 goal setting. And yeah, if it's done its job, you'll already know this. Goals don't fail because you don't want them badly enough. Like, it really annoys me when the Instagram world shares that narrative, and that's just not the case. Like, we can want things really bad but just don't know how to get them, or we think we know how to get them but it's actually not the direction that it takes to get them, if that makes sense. Goals fail because they were built on the wrong foundation. And I actually said that to a lady today, she's on my program. I was like, we're starting you out in phase 1 because before I was attacking you at phase 3, thinking you were able to do phase 1 and 2, but actually on reflection from videos from the gym, I was like, you're not. So we're actually bringing you right back to phase 1, and then we're going to build you up to phase 3 to where you feel more confident and more capable in the gym environment and with strength. So yeah, so look, in episode 1, we talked about identity, who you are beneath your habits, and why your actions always return to that story. In episode 2, we explored self-trust and how it's built through the promises you keep when life is busy and chaotic, as it always is. And in episode 3, we unpacked why women give up on themselves. So often right before change becomes possible, And we see that more and more and more often. Like, women get to me and will say they're 6 weeks, the first 6 weeks, they're absolutely smashing it. They're like, it's a new goal, it's a new thing, it's shiny, it's glitzy, progress is happening. And then progress slows down and suddenly it's like, I want to give up now. And you're like, well, you can't because you've signed for 6 months. So you just need to keep going and keep chipping away. And every single woman that's on my program that has hit that point has always come out to the side and said, I am so glad that I am with you, because that is the exact point I would usually give up. But actually now I'm 6 months later and I'm a completely different person. So in episode 4, I then shared what 2025 actually asked of me, and the consistency, the discomfort, the growth, the quiet decision to stay instead of quitting was there a lot in 2025, both business and personal. But yeah, this episode is about translation. It's about taking everything you've learned about yourself and using it to set goals differently. Like, this episode is not about pressure. It is not about comparison or panic to create these goals just because it's January 2026. This episode has to be about clarity, honesty, alignment, and what you want to get out of 2026, but not as a year as a whole, like monthly. So this is not about writing the perfect list, ladies. It is about kind of like that reflection and choosing impressive outcomes and how you want to feel with that outcome. And it's about designing goals that survive real life, which I think a lot of people miss in this day and age, right? Because honestly, most women don't fail at goal setting. The goal setting is the easy part. We know this. Like, the goal setting is the part that it's like, oh, I would like to do this, but not actually put a plan or a structure into place as to how you're going to get there or what you need to feel or think to achieve that goal. But they fail at goal design, which encompasses all of that. So for years, I genuinely set goals the way most people do. I choose outcomes, I focused on results. I told myself that if I could just hit a certain number, let that be on the scale, on the clock, in my business, in the gym, running for my pacing, then everything else would fall into place. And sometimes I did hit those numbers, but even when I did, the satisfaction was super short-lived. Like, it's not the hype that you make it out to be, because the foundation underneath hadn't changed, and that's where I was going wrong. So what 2025 taught me is that outcomes are lagging indicators, and they tell you that you've been kind of like where you've been, not how to live day to day. And identity, systems, and self-trust are what actually carry you forward. Without them, even the most exciting goal becomes fragile. Okay, so when I sit down and think about 2026, like, I think I didn't start to think about like what I want to achieve. I started to think like, who do I want to be in 2026? Like, what is that feeling that I want to hit in December 2026? Because I was so focused on pressure and numbers going into 2025. Like, I literally said I wanted to run 2K a day. That didn't last long. I got injured and yeah, it didn't happen. But I am hitting my goal. Distance-wise, I set a 1,000-kilometer goal. I've got 24 to go. It's going to happen. That's 4 5Ks and a 4K. I can do that. That's easy, right? I am genuinely going to try and get a 10K done on Christmas Day. I don't know what time I'm going to have to get over to the Centre of Excellence for to get that done, but it's going to get done. And I think that's where I went wrong. Like, I initially thought like, okay, I need to get like 2K a day done, like straight away, like I need to lock that in. And that just wasn't feasible. It just, well, obviously with an injury, it just wasn't happening. But that is the first shift that I want you to make, is before you write a single goal, ask yourself, who am I becoming this year? And that's what this whole series has been about with the Becoming series. It has to be about not who do you want to impress. It's not who do you think you should be, like I said, but who do you actually want to live as? Consistently, quietly, sustainably. Because for me, that answer wasn't dramatic. It wasn't this big glitzy shiny thing. It wasn't flashy. In 2026, I'm becoming somebody who stays. And yes, this is my 5th January where I'm not starting out like starting again, like, oh, the January I'll start again. Like, this is the 5th January that I have not said that. And that in itself has been so freeing, you have no idea. But for me, 2026 has to be about that person, and that's someone who does not abandon herself when things feel slow or uncomfortable, but not just in business or personal life, but just across the board. Someone who builds steadily rather than reacts emotionally, and who respects her body, her energy, her capacity, who leads from integrity rather than urgency. I'm really bad at that one, so that one's one of my biggest ones. And that identity now acts as a filter, because every goal I set has to support it. And this is where so many women go wrong. Like, they choose goals that actively fight the identity that they say that they want. And they want calm, but they set chaotic goals. They want balance, but they design routines on demand perfection. They want confidence, but they build goals that rely on external validation. And I think external validation is one of those things that is so normal to want, but it gets you nowhere. Like, it gets you nowhere to get that external validation. I always come back to the half marathon that I did in the desert. I was so pissed off that morning that none of my family or friends messaged me. The whole race, I was so annoyed. And blessed, to this day, like, I remember my friend Richard, he was waiting for me at the finish line, obviously, because he's like speedy. He was speedy. And I remember saying to him, like, I'm fuming. And he's like, what are you fuming about? Like, the race was 20k. You ran an extra 1.1 kilometers just to get the half marathon distance. Like, what are you annoyed about? And I was like, none of my friends messaged. Like, I'm fuming. Like, I was genuinely put out. And he was like, no, Marina, you've got the wrong game there. He was like, you need to do this for you, not for external validation. And honestly, I swore that day, no matter what race I did or what I did in the future, it would never be for somebody else. It would always be for me. And I think the race that I did the ultramarathon with, it was for men's mental health in memory of that friend, Richard. And I think because it had almost come full circle, like, I wasn't doing it for him, I was doing it in memory of him. And the fact that it was running, it really kind of brought that validation to, I have stopped doing this for external reasons. I am just doing this for myself now. And it brought a whole new sense of confidence to my ability in 2025. And I'm now able to bring that into 2026. So the second question that I asked myself was, what kind of systems would somebody like that need? So identity without systems is just intention, right? We need to remember that. You have to back up with the identity with the intention of action. An intention does not survive busy seasons. The action does. So, like, in the past, I relied far too heavily on that motivation. Like, when I first started my journey, it was like, oh, I'm not motivated. Like, I told myself, like, oh, I'll push when needed, get strict when things slipped, or like reset properly when life calmed down. Does life ever calm down, ladies? It definitely doesn't. Well, it didn't for me. But while that worked short term, yes, it worked short term, it also collapsed eventually, and motivation is emotional. Systems are structural. We know this. And the only one of those that is reliable is structure and systems. So instead of setting goals like train more or grow the business, I ask more practical questions like, what systems help me stay consistent without burning out? Or what routines protect my energy rather than drain it? What habits can survive weeks when motivation is low? That thinking completely changed how I approached goal setting. So, like, for example, instead of setting a goal around body composition, which, I mean, look, I do every year, right? Because I always want to get more stronger. I want to, like, not more stronger. I want to get like fitter. I want to get leaner. Like, there's loads of things that I want aesthetically every year. And like, I head out to do it. But yeah, this year in 2026, it will be a little bit different. But I focus on the behaviors that support that respect. So like eating regularly, training for strength, walking daily, sleeping properly, managing stress. These are not exciting goals on paper, but they are the powerful things in practice, and they align with the identity that I'm trying to become. So instead of setting vague business goals, for example, I focused on systems around creation, and connection, because again, I feel like if you're not relatable or people don't feel like they can connect with you, then like nobody's going to join my program, right? So I want to be that coach. I think I said it in the last podcast episode, like I want to be that coach that people look at and think, right, well, she hasn't got a six pack, but she's fit, she's strong, she eats nutritiously, and she moves. Like, but wow, she works like 60 hours a week. She gets it. She's been a teacher. She understands the teaching system and how education works and all of these other things with regards education, which will be a whole other episode that we can get into. But it's absolutely something that I think needs to be remembered, is that we have to do this for ourselves, right? But the systems get you there. And instead of showing up like every now and again or whenever I feel like it, I had a system in place to show up even on the days that I didn't want to, prioritizing depth over speed and building trust rather than changing reach. And that's massive. Like that chase was no more. So the result is that goals stop feeling heavy, which has to happen. It's 2026, ladies. Like we need to snap out of this. Like we see it all over Instagram, like you're not motivated, you're not consistent, you're not this, you're not that. Well, how about we flip that and we say, actually, I'm going to be consistent with one thing that I can do this week. If that's just drinking water, then just drink water. If that's get an extra 100 steps today, then that's get an extra 100 steps today, right? We have to kind of lift that heaviness from it, because then they will stop feeling like something you have to force. They begin like to start feeling like a natural kind of expression of who you are becoming. So another critical shift that I've made for 2026 was letting go of time pressure. Time is something that breaks my soul, guys. Like time is one of those things that I really wish everybody had the same beliefs on, because it is something that really gets my back up, and I really have to struggle. Like if I say to somebody I'm going to be there at 3 o'clock and they're not out at bang on 3 o'clock or before, like the steam coming out my ears. Like I really, really, really struggle to process that, because to me it's wasting somebody else's time. But anyway, time pressure. For a long time, I believed that if a goal didn't happen quickly, it wasn't working. And that belief kept me in cycles of intensity followed by burnout. And 2025 particularly taught me that meaningful progress is often slower than your ego would like. Your ego is one of the biggest killers, but we just needed to be more sustainable and more stable than what I was doing the year before. And that is what has happened. So I'm going to like lean on that. But for this particular thing, you need to ask yourself, like, how fast can I get there? And how long can I sustain that for? Like, this question is uncomfortable because it forces honesty. And I think that's one of the biggest things that is missing in goal setting, is that honesty, and the reflection is honesty. It forces you to admit when a goal is built on fantasy rather than reality. It forces you to design around your actual life, your workload, your energy, your responsibilities, rather than an idealized version of yourself that you think you're bringing into 2026 and that person doesn't exist. That honesty is what makes goals achievable. And this is especially important for teachers and women who live in demanding jobs, demanding environments, and your life does not operate in neat, like unmessy ways, right? Like your life is not predictable. Your energy fluctuates. Your weeks are emotionally heavy, especially teachers. But again, I speak that about professions across the board. I've got pharmacy managers, pharmacists, I've got real estate agents, nurses, like social care workers. I've got so many people on my program currently, along with teachers, that all feel that emotional heaviness. And I think if you like set that goal, or any goal that requires that constant high output, it's already going to work against you, which we definitely don't want. So when I think about 2026, I'm thinking about in terms of like how, as opposed to on or off. Like I'm thinking it in terms of like, what's the minimum and how flexible can I be? And what is the minimum version of the habit that still counts? Like, what does consistency look like on my hardest weeks, not the best ones? And those answers matter far more than those ambitious declarations that you make for January. Like, what goals can you see yourself doing in June along with in January, not just January? And I think another lesson that I carried forward was the importance of evidence. In episode 2 of this series, so 3 episodes ago, we talked about self-trust and built how that is built through repeated follow-through action and building that evidence in your brain. That principle now sits at the heart of how I set goals. And again, if you haven't listened to episode 2, like pause this now and go back and listen to episode 2, or even at the end of this, go back and listen to all 4, because the self-trust, the keeping promises and the identity is what's going to help you set goals for 2026. So I don't want goals that make me feel inspired or for a week or disappointed for a year, right? I want goals that allow me to collect evidence monthly as I go through the year, evidence that I showed up, that I adapt, that I stayed connected. So instead of setting like outcome heavy goals, I focused on behavior based ones, things that I can control, things that I can repeat, things that reinforce the identity that I am building and I am focusing on in 2026. And this doesn't mean outcomes don't matter. They do, of course they do. But they cannot be the driver. They cannot be the driver to your goals. They are the byproduct of your behaviors towards your goals. And this is where I want to like pause for a minute and speak directly to you, because if you are listening to this episode and hoping for permission to start fresh in January, I want you to know this. You don't need permission. You can start on the 5th of January, the 6th of January, the 10th of January, the 8th of December. It doesn't matter when you start. You just need to start. But you don't need to burn everything down to begin again. Like, it's not about that. You just need clarity. You need honesty with yourself, and you need goals that respect who you are and the life that you can live, not want to live, that you can implement now. Like I say to my clients all the time, I want to come into your life and make the smallest changes possible that have the biggest impact on your life. Every single woman that has passed through my doors has had that, and genuinely see that. So you do not need more pressure. You do not need more discipline. You do not need a new you. You need to be aligned with who you want to be. And alignment doesn't come from that wishy-washy, like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It comes from designing goals that work with you and your life, not against you. And by the time this episode reaches you, I want you to feel something different from how most end of year's conversations leave you feeling. I don't want you to feel that wired or pressured or convinced that January is your only chance. It's not. And one of the most important changes, I suppose, I made in how I set goals for 2026 was learning how to separate ambition from that urgency. Like, I need to go, get it. And it just didn't help. So for a long time, I believed that if I wasn't pushing or striving or slightly uncomfortable all the time, I wasn't doing enough. I wasn't enough. And urgency kind of like felt productive, for want of a better way to say it. It felt like that momentum was building. And what it was actually doing was it was just building pressure. And pressure is one of the fastest ways to disconnect from yourself, your goals and your body. And like I said, 2025 taught me that urgency and alignment rarely coexist. Rarely. Urgency makes you rush and alignment makes you choose. And when you choose from alignment, your goals stop feeling like something that you need to survive and start feeling something that you can live inside of, which again brings that sustainability back into the surface. So instead of asking myself what I want to achieve as quickly as possible, I ask myself something far more grounding. What do I want my days to feel like this year? And that question changed everything, because how I feel every single day is what I'm bringing to the table every single day. Goals don't exist in isolation. They live inside your days, inside your routines, inside your energy levels, inside your emotional capacity, inside your behaviors. And goals can tend to make the day feel heavy. And when I answered that question honestly with myself, I realized that 2026 was about to feel steady and stable. And I'm getting that safety back into my environment. I want to feel present in my work, not constantly chasing that next thing. I want to feel strong in my body, not at war with it, which I feel like I was in 2025, again with my injuries and so on. I wanted to feel clear in my mind, not constantly negotiating with myself about whether I was doing enough. Those feelings become the compass for my goals. So instead of setting like rigid targets, I began designing conditions that support consistency rather than demanding perfection, or conditions that allow me to stay connected even when things get busy. Conditions that reduce friction instead of creating friction. This is one of the biggest mindset shifts that I've had to create in the past few years, is design for continuity, not intensity. And I think in the last 5 years, I have done that. I have designed something for continuity. I haven't regained all of my weight. Yes, I've gained like 6 kilos, which is in my head easy to lose. It is not as easy to lose as I thought it was. And I've had to make major lifestyle changes, but that all links back to my goals, which is fine, because intensity can look impressive, but it is so fragile, ladies, right? Whereas continuity looks boring, but it's powerful. It is strong. The foundations are there, right? So when I think about health goals, I'm no longer asking like, how hard can I push? Like, I'm asking what supports my nervous system, and how to stay regulated. Because when my nervous system is regulated, I make better choices without forcing those choices. I eat regularly, I move consistently, I recover properly. I don't swing between extremes. And that might sound simple, but it's so transformative. And if you're in that kind of swinging style at the minute, pick one, lock in on it, and make that your focus, and then build from there. Because, for example, instead of planning an aggressive training schedule, I look at what I can maintain even in busy weeks. So, for example, I've said to my coach, I can only do 3 training sessions a week. Like, would I like to do 5? Absolutely. With running, it's just not possible. After my half marathon in March, I probably will go to 5, and I'll probably cut back on running completely for April, May and June. And then I will start training for my half marathon in July, August and September for the last half marathon of the year. So I suppose how you kind of balance out your goals, like me doing half marathons and marathons and ultra marathons and all these other things really close in proximity time-wise to each other, just wasn't helping my goals, because I was a jack of all trades and master of none, right? And all that was suffering was my body, right? And my goals, right? So for my goals of 2026, they're built around rhythm, systems instead of sprints, and trust instead of urgency. And this is why I don't believe in all-in goals anymore, because all-in sounds great and sounds powerful, but it often leaves no room for humanity and real life and life to be lifing, which it has happened so often recently. Humans need room. Humans need that room for error and that little bit of leniency. They need flexibility. They need systems that bend instead of breaking, okay? So instead of all in, choose all along. I've been doing this all along, I can just continue. All along means you stay with yourself. It means that you adapt without quitting. It means you don't disappear just because things feel messy. And I think that mindset alone changes how you approach everything. And I think in 2026, I'm measuring success differently too. Like, success looks like staying regulated instead of reactive, or showing up consistently when I don't want to, or sporadically. Success this year is going to trust myself rather than feel like I constantly have to be in control. And that's across the board, lads. This is not just business. This is not just coaching. This is personal life, running, gym, everything, right? The outcomes will come. I just have to trust that I'm doing it right, and that will be the byproduct. A new way to do things tend to feel unsafe and tend to kind of push you out of that boundary and that discomfort zone, but get there. Get there, be honest with yourself, and set your goals for this year, because it's the only thing for me that pulls me through the last 5 years. So when people say to me, oh my God, like, how can this be the 5th year that you're not going into January thinking I have to start again? And that's what it is. Like, I set consistent goals, mini goals throughout the whole year that keep me ticking over. If I had nothing set, nothing happening, right? Like, from March, April, May, June, I'm going to be like working on real powerlifting style lifting. My coach is a powerlifter. I want to get into it potentially 2027, maybe 2028. Like I'm already thinking that far ahead with goals. Like I've already got a running race that I want to do in 2027. 2026 is all about my 2 half marathons. But then the 2027, there's nothing, that race that I want to do is like in November 27. So yes, I could do something major at the start of the year. I could do a marathon, I could do half marathons, I could do 10Ks, I could do whatever I want. But I'm really going to focus on strength and powerlifting. Like I am setting those foundations in 2026 to go into 2027 strong, not just lifting wise, but running too. Like I said, that race that I want to do is a 90K ultra marathon. And it's not on trails. So it is going to be taxing on the body. So I have to build those foundations. I have to get those ready in 2026. But this is the energy that I am bringing into 2026. Not impatience, disguised as ambition. I am bringing commitment, 100% commitment. And that might mean 20% on some days. That 20% on that one day is my 100% that day. Okay? Ladies, you do not need a clean start to start showing up. You just need to start, because everything that we have talked about in this series, like identity, self-trust, breaking the cycle of quitting, honest reflection, and intentional goal setting leads to this moment. Not a dramatic restart, but a grounded continuity goal setting day. If you take nothing else from this episode, I want you to take this. I've written it down. You don't move forward by becoming harder on yourself. You move forward by becoming more honest. And if that is that you are struggling to get your goals every single year, and every single January you're starting with, yeah, this year is my year, this year is my year. Be honest with yourself. How is that going to be your year? What are you putting in place to make it your year? You can't just set the intention and not actually follow up with action. Be honest about your capacity. Be honest about your patterns. Be honest about what actually supports you. When you set goals from that place, different game. You stop feeling like a test that you're going to fail, but you can actually start feeling like you're walking in the direction that you want to be on. So look, as we move forward into 2026, I want you to think less about what you want to achieve and more about how you want to live, who you want to be. Think about the identity that you're building, the promises that you're willing to keep, and the systems that will support you when motivation feels low or it's fading. Okay? Again, my favorite word, I use motivation because it's the one word that everybody relates to. So look, ladies, you're not behind. You just don't need to rush this. Becoming that version of you is not in a moment. It's practice, it's patience. And if this series has done its job, you already know how to practice it. But if you have any issues or need any confirmation or help with direction on where to go in 2026, all you have to do is get in touch. And that is another episode completed. I would love you to hit subscribe on my YouTube and follow along at Coach Marina Hardiman on Instagram for more.